There's a study that came out of MIT a few years ago that I think every parent should know about, not because it's complicated, because it's simple in a way that genuinely surprised researchers. For decades, scientists studying language development focused on one thing: the number of words a child heard. More words in, better language outcomes later. That was the working theory. And it was right, to a point. But then a team, led by neuroscientist John Gabrieli, started looking at something different. Not word count. Conversational turns. The back and forth. The exchange. Baby makes a sound, parent responds. Parent says something, baby looks, gurgles, reaches. Parent responds to that. Simple. Ordinary. And it turned out to be more predictive of a child's language ability at age 5 than the total number of words they'd heard. More than word count. More than educational toys or apps or programs designed specifically to boost language. The thing that moved the needle most was the simplest thing. Two people talking to each other, even when one of them can't talk yet. Here's why that matters so much. When you have a back and forth exchange with your baby, even a completely nonverbal one, two specific regions of your baby's brain light up. Broca's area, which handles language production, and Wernicke's area, which handles language comprehension. These are the same two areas that adults use during conversation. Your baby is activating their language centers during exchanges that look, from the outside, like a parent just talking to a baby who isn't doing much. But inside that baby's brain, it's not nothing. It's rehearsal. Patricia Kuhl, a neuroscientist at the University of Washington, spent years studying how babies acquire the sounds of language, what she calls the sounds of their native tongue. And she found something that changed how we think about language learning entirely. Babies learn speech sounds best in person, not from recordings, not from videos, not from the television in the background. She ran an experiment where one group of babies was exposed to a foreign language through live interaction with a native speaker. Another group heard the exact same content from a television or audio recording. The live group showed measurable learning. The screen group showed essentially nothing. Zero. The brain, Kuhl concluded, requires a social partner to acquire language. It needs the eye contact. It needs the facial expressions. It needs the responsiveness of a real human being who is actually paying attention. That can't be replicated by a screen. Which means every time you're sitting with your baby, talking to them, responding to their sounds, you are doing something a 200 app literally cannot do. You're the irreplaceable part. Now, I want to talk about something called Parentese. Because if you've ever found yourself talking to your baby in a higher pitched, slower, slightly musical voice without meaning to, you weren't being silly. You were being instinctively brilliant. Parentese is the term researchers use for that exaggerated, melodic way of speaking that adults naturally default to around babies. And it turns out, it's actually more effective for language learning than regular speech. The elongated vowels, the raised pitch, the slowed down pace, all of it makes the sounds of language easier for an immature auditory system to parse and process. Research from the University of Washington found that babies of parents who used more Parentese at 6 and 10 months had significantly larger vocabularies at 14 months. Your baby isn't just tolerating the baby talk. They're benefiting from it. Here's the thing nobody tells you about conversational turns with a baby. You have to do both sides. You say something, and you wait. Your baby looks at you, or makes a sound, or shifts their body. And you respond to that. Not over it, not through it, to it. That pause, that moment of actually waiting for your baby's response before you say the next thing is what makes it a conversation instead of a monologue. And that distinction matters enormously to your baby's brain. The MIT study found that it wasn't families who talked the most who produced the strongest language outcomes. It was families where there was genuine back and forth, where the baby's contributions, however small, were noticed and responded to. That's it. That's the whole intervention. I also want to address something that might be sitting in the back of your mind. What if you're not a naturally talkative person? What if narrating your day feels forced and strange, and you can't figure out what to actually say? This is more common than the parenting books make it sound. Not every parent is wired to fill silence with words, and the research doesn't require you to be. Even introverted, quieter parents can build strong conversational turn counts through short, responsive exchanges. You don't have to monologue. You just have to notice. Baby looks at the fan. You see that? It's spinning? Baby makes a sound. Yeah, tell me more. Baby reaches toward something. That's the cup. It's blue. 4 seconds. 3 sentences. 1 full turn. That's enough to count. That's enough to matter. There's a version of parenting that costs a lot. Right stroller. The right sleep system. The apps and the subscriptions and the developmental toy kits that arrive every month in a box. And none of that is wrong. The most significant thing you can do for your baby's developing brain costs nothing. It requires no equipment. It requires no special knowledge. It just requires you to be there and to talk and to wait and to listen. And the fact that you're watching a video like this tells me you're already doing more of that than you realize. Follow this channel if you want to keep understanding your baby at this level. Every week we bring you the science that explains what you're already seeing and why it matters more than you think. We'll see you in the next one.